So it's that time of year again when we move all of the wood that we've been stacking in the pasture into the barn so that it stays dry this fall, and then so then we can move it to the wood boiler and use it in the wintertime. So that's what we're going to do today. All right, let's do it. That whole big pile of wood back there that Kyle's cutting, and then I'll split, is for next year's wood boiler, or even the year after that. We got 10 log cords that we'll need to take care of, cutting and bucking and splitting and stacking. And so I'm moving all of this wood into the barn to burn this year, and that wood behind us is for next year and the year after. This is what 3.5 hours worth of work looks like. We cleared all of this. And then I'll cut up all that. Not bad for a nice little pleasant Saturday. And here's 3.5 hours of stacking wood. Not bad. Hey you guys, I'm on my way to get gas right now because we have a full day of farm chores ahead of us. We are going to harvest sweet potatoes. We're going to harvest, I did Brussels sprouts yesterday. We'll probably harvest some pears today, the rest of the pears, and whatever else is in the garden. But we're also going to pull up all of the, a lot of the dead plants that are in the garden that have already been harvested. We're going to get those out of there and move them to a weed pile up the hill so that we can cultivate the garden one last time before winter sets in. So, it's a big day. There's lots of stuff to do. So let's do it. So we take a lot of the stuff that we pull from the garden, like broccoli plants and Brussels sprout plants and sweet potato greens up the hill, and kind of dump it into a pile, and it kind of composts on its own up there. But sometimes we like to give some greens to the chickens and ducks and have them enjoy it. You know, and it looks like the ducks are enjoying some sweet potato greens right now in a nice Brussels sprout stock. Okay, so we harvested all the sweet potatoes. So what's next? Great question. So you kind of lay them out in an airy space. Let the air get to them. You don't brush them off. You know, if they have a lot of dirt on them, sure, but you don't like clean them at all. And then the next step is to create kind of a humid climate. We live in Wisconsin, so in October there's not that much humidity in the air, right? Like there's some, but it's not 80 degrees and humid, and I think that's what you want. You want warm and humid. It ain't that. So one way to kind of create your own humidity that we've tried last year and it works, and we've tried it this year with some sweet potatoes that we harvested a few weeks ago, is you put some sweet potatoes in a plastic bag, punch some holes in it, you can see that, punch a few holes in it, and set it in a warm space. So we did it by a window that gets a lot of sunlight, and we left it there for 10 days. Sometimes last year we put a blanket over the bags, and that worked really well. When we opened the bags 10 days later, the sweet potatoes were cured. That's what we're doing. We're curing the sweet potatoes so that we can store them all winter and into even next summer. So that's what this is about. Once 10 days has passed and you take them out of the plastic bag, we then roll them in paper individually. And then we put this probably on one of the shelves that we have in the garage or even in the basement. So why are we doing this? Okay, good question. So we put them in the bag and cure them, not only so that they last longer, but for taste. It helps to improve their taste. They become sweeter. Why do we put them in the paper? It's also to help their sweetness. They become even more sweet after that. You could certainly harvest a sweet potato from the garden and cook it that night. That's perfectly fine. They're edible. They're still delicious. But if you want to increase the amount of sweetness in your sweet potatoes, first cure them because that elevates the taste and it makes them last longer. And then put them in paper and store them that way throughout the winter, and that elevates the flavor even more. So that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to take all the sweet potatoes that we harvested yesterday and put them in plastic bags, punch some holes in them, and put them in the window here in the kitchen, and call it good for 10 days. All right, let's do it. So we planted two types of sweet potatoes this year. These big ones are Covington Organic, and these back here are Georgia Jets. So you can see a pretty remarkable difference. We planted the Covingtons probably 2 or 3 weeks earlier than the Georgia Jets, but they have a different color. You see it in this light? So the Covington is more orange and the Georgia Jet is a little more red. We also just like the way that these harvested. It was easier to harvest the Covingtons. They kind of planted directly underneath the plant, and the Georgia Jets were kind of off to the side. So from a harvesting perspective, it was easier to harvest the Covingtons, also on their size. I know a lot of people don't like massive sweet potatoes, but they do seem a little hardier regardless, you know, just to the touch. So under this blanket we have our sweet potatoes. They are in bags, laying flat here by these windows, and hopefully they'll be in a position to cure. It is warm in here. It's probably optimal temperature. So we put this blanket on them to make sure that they stay warm and that the humidity is drawn into the bags. And we'll take them outside and wrap them in newspaper in about 10 days. And that's it. That's how you cure sweet potatoes and they'll last all winter and be sweeter and more delicious because of it. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to see more like it, please like and subscribe. And I hope to see you next time, either on the run or on the farm.